Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the natal astrological chart of NBA legend Michael Jordan. Now, Michael Jordan's chart, he has, as far as his main proponents go in his chart, he has the Sun in Aquarius, the Moon in Sagittarius, and a Cancer ascendant. Now, the way this is broken down, it's broken down very systematically. Look at the sun first. The sun, as far as the energies amalgamating and integrating together, he has the sun in Aquarius, and the sun in Aquarius, the basic character, the basic wants are often to be ingenious, eclectic, unorthodox, and unconventional. That being injected into the Sagittarius moon energy, the emotionally, for sports, for athletics, and then you have it being flavored with the Cancer ascendant, with a lot of unequivocal, unconditional love, doing these, flavoring that energy with what I just described, the unequivocal love, and also with tenacity, devotion, dedication, and very strong Cancerian emotion. Now it's interesting. You look at Michael Jordan's all these placements as far as the synastry with the United States. His ascendant conjuncts the United States sun, very close conjunction with that. His moon makes a conjunction with the United States ascendant. I'm going with the Sagittarius rising chart for the United States, and also his you look as well his son, Michael Jordan's Aquarius sun, makes the conjunction to the moon of the United States. I think that's the one, to me, I thought was intriguing and compelling, because I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, Michael Jordan, having the basic character of the sun in Aquarius, it's like it's all this unorthodox, eclectic, unconventional, ingenious energy, and it really, what it does, it strongly satisfies this way the United States emotional needs, and as far as what they could be looking for in someone, in this case an athlete. But this is something, and also the moon rules the public as well, so it's no shock, it's not that bewildering that the American public is so connected with Michael Jordan. And you have, the fact that he has Cancer ascendant, and the United States sun is in very close proximity to Michael Jordan's Cancer ascendant. It's like he's bringing that sun out, so to speak. That's how he seems to draw the Americans to him, and they are able to shine that light, so to speak, on that Cancerian outer demeanor. And I think a lot of this, the fact they have this such good synastry, Michael Jordan in the United States, no wonder he's seen by so many people as like this American archetype, and somebody that's seen as nearly flawless by people. Remember when he was in that gambling scandal in the early 90s, there was, or whatever it was, I don't know if you want to call it a scandal, but when he was involved in something, I believe it was connected with some kind of gambling, that, it was really all was basically, forgiven, and Michael Jordan was basically still looked upon as Michael Jordan. And it may not have even been a scandal, but you may want to look that up to confirm it. He might have just been out late doing something connected with gambling, but you may want to look that up and confirm that what I'm stating. But the point is, whatever that was, it didn't really leave a dent or blemish really on Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan, it seems like he's so inextricably, tied to the United States, to America, and really people just don't see much wrong with him. With that Aquarius energy, the Aquarius Sun, Mercury, and Saturn. Hey, it's no wonder the Sun Aquarius, especially him being such a transcendent athlete. Aquarius athletes often are very transcendent and very iconic. You look at Stephen Curry, who has an Aquarius moon. He is shooting like 40-foot shots like there's no tomorrow in such a nonchalant manner. Babe Ruth, an Aquarius sun. Look at what he did. He was basically somebody that revolutionized what he was doing. He was out homering baseball teams. Aquarius energy is often so far ahead of their time, it's not even funny. But going back to Michael Jordan's chart, the thing about this too with Michael Jordan is that I look at the chart, and another thing that, I mean, he's got what I thought was interesting. He's got most of the preponderance of planets on the right side of his chart, and to me that shows a person that really likes to do things more with others, collective efforts, collaboration with others. When people have more planets on the right side of their chart as opposed to the left, it often indicates they may need some cajoling or coaxing to get things done, and they're not always being that independent or self-reliant. But I think Michael Jordan is not really that kind of person where he's overly or excessively dependent on others. I just think he's somebody that likes to do things with others. Now, I believe he has a balance of the planets on the top half of the chart and the bottom half of the chart, which shows that he could have a very good balance of introversion and extroversion, being gregarious and being introspective, and also between being objective and subjective as well, and optimism versus pessimism. He probably is a very emotionally balanced person, I would say. And the thing about Michael Jordan too, he doesn't have any planets in that in that fourth quadrant of the chart, that which are houses 10, 11, and 12. This could show, in some cases, could be perceived as a lack of altruism or humanitarianism, or not really being that concerned about global awareness, or those less fortunate than yourself, or what have you, or things of a strong environmental nature. But I think his Aquarius energy more than makes up for that. He's got 3 planets in Aquarius, and he has Jupiter in Pisces and the midheaven in Pisces, so he has a very strong altruistic energy and selfless, self-sacrificing energy that does modify that, and at least how I see it anyway. Another thing in Michael Jordan's chart, I think that really, to me stands out is the fact that he has a grand water trine in his chart, which consists of Jupiter in Pisces, Neptune in Scorpio, and a Cancer ascendant. Cancer ascendant may be seen as a little bit controversial because some people may not use the ascendant in a configuration, but I'm using because I think the ascendant is a very significant proponent in one's astrological chart. And if it's positively manifested when you have a grand water trine, it could show very good, I would say, imagination, especially with the Pisces, their intuition, just being able to sense what to do at given times, having very good timing, and showing a lot of sensitivity as well in whatever it is you're doing in care. But the thing about that is, some people see a grand water trine negatively manifested, that it could be very evasive and elusive energy, and one may be overly passive or cowering and isolating themselves from others. But I don't think that was the case with Jordan. The theory behind this is if you have something in that configuration that makes an adverse aspect, or you have some adverse aspects in your chart that help give you a little bit more drive and a little bit more energy to try to work to some degree, not become overly complacent, that could help things along and manifest the energy more positively in the grand water trine. And Michael Jordan does have, I know he has his Mars making opposition, I believe it's to his Mercury and Saturn. And the thing about it is, if you have certain energy that when you look at squares, oppositions, even in conjunction, they're not really saying positive, but they can help that energy that I described with that grand water trine for preventing one from becoming overly complacent. And he also has the Neptune that's in Scorpio, that's in that grand water trine configuration I described. It squares his Mars, so I think you have a little bit of that energy trying to overcome maybe when you have Mars an adverse aspect to Neptune. I see this as one where there's a challenge perhaps to overcome lethargy and show strong energy, and having the Mars in Leo, I mean, that could give, in some cases, very inexorable, near indefatigable energy, and it's also one of the handle, I guess you could say, the end planets in his chart pattern. So, as far as his series, as far as his planets go. But the thing about it is, too, another thing in his chart, Michael Jordan also has what I consider the final signature or chart signature in Scorpio. Now, some people see this as that mean being that final type, but I don't. I mean, I think when you look at a chart or final signature in one's astrological chart, it can give, I mean, certain a general tone or feel to the chart, but I don't believe it supersedes the sun, moon, or ascendant in terms of its significance or impact on the chart. But having it in Scorpio, I'm giving it to Scorpio because he had what I consider the majority of his major astrological influences. 5 were immutable, 5 were in fixed, but he had one more personal planet with the fixed. So I gave the tiebreaker to fixed water. So basically how I saw this was, I mean, given that talking about a final or a chart signature in Scorpio, I think that shows a lot of Michael Jordan's, his indomitable will and spirit, his strong resiliency, and being able to come back from adversity. I mean, when Michael Jordan had a game on the line in Game 7, you just always seem to feel that confidence, whether you loved him or hated him, that he was going to come through in the clutch for you and have nerves of and really have nerves of steel. I mean, and I think a lot of that is that, I mean, a lot of that could be having that final signature in Scorpio, but and I think when I look at it, and also being able to control the game. I'm sure there were a lot of games where he would just kind of somehow control the flow of it, and finding ways to manipulate the outcome to his and his team's advantage. Now, Michael Jordan also, I want to go back to that grand water trine configuration. Jupiter in Pisces was one of those points too, and he has Jupiter in Pisces conjunct the ascendant. Jupiter, of course, is in its dignity in Pisces. And a lot of this I think, was where, when I talked about before, as far as Michael Jordan's public image and reputation, it seemed like he was nearly impervious to anything really, negative, really sticking with him in terms of blemishing his public image and his reputation. And a lot of that Jupiter in Pisces on the midheaven, I think it manifested with Michael Jordan in terms of really being very lucky and fortuitous, being lucky by being idealistic and having a dream, being able to manifest that dream into reality. And I think this and the fact that it was conjunct his midheaven, of course, it was very lucky and fortuitous for his career. And I remember Marv Albert one time saying, when he was announcing a game that Michael Jordan was in, he said something like, Michael, he's floating and firing, and Pisces energy can be floating. Interestingly enough, having Jupiter in Pisces on the midheaven, and Jupiter, of course, can, I mean, as I've stated in previous videos, I mean, Jupiter could be very, I mean, it's paradoxical, could be very strongly benign and benevolent, but it could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand. And in this case, and maybe to expand and enlarge some of that floating ability, or at least what Michael Jordan did, what it looked like when he was floating in the air when he'd be shooting. I mean, the guy obviously was a colossal talent, and somebody that was really, his work, I'm sure, was, I mean, unprecedented. And he's, in terms of what he did in terms of revolutionizing the game. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that. I'm back. But anyway, and going back to Michael Jordan's chart, his chart ruler is in the 6th house. That's the moon in Sagittarius. So I mean, that a lot of that, his Cancerian, that real tenacious, devoted, dedicated energy would go into his work, his employment. And I mean, having the moon in Sagittarius, it's also making a conjunction to the 6th house, because Sagittarius is the lucky zodiac sign. The moon is the public. So it's no shocker he has that right there. I mean, something that he did with the public that was tied in with his employment. It was sports related, Sagittarius, and of course it was very lucky as well. And another thing too, I thought was interesting is that Michael Jordan. Now, this is another one of those controversial things that might be subjective, that some may not see it as a yod, but he had a yod configuration. He has a yod configuration, at least I call it, might be seen as a weak yod, based on the aspect with the orb, with the moon to the ascendant, and then the Saturn, I believe, was to his ascendant as well, and the ascendant in Cancer being that apex, that focal point, that action point of the yod. And it shows to me, I mean, you're talking about the Saturn, the moon in Sagittarius, of course, the emotional needs for sports, for athletics, all that positive, expansive energy, and bringing also along with that Saturn in Aquarius, that responsibility, so to speak, to be somewhat eccentric, to be unique, to be unorthodox and unconventional, and injecting all that into the Cancerian ascendant, where of course we are talking about the apex point of the yod. That is where you can have that prodigious and monumental achievement. It was just by himself, by him being, projecting that Cancerian energy, by showing that strong tenacity, that unequivocal love for whatever it was he was going to do, for being caring, and for really and to me, again, being very caring and dedicated and devoted to what he was doing strongly, and that of course was playing basketball, and just his general sensitivity. And really, I think the public really strongly did accept Michael Jordan. And the thing about when I look at Michael Jordan as well, and the thing about him is that sadly, I wanted to get to a point where his talking about something on a sadder note. There was a transit that happened. I mean, some of you may remember when his father had tragically died. I believe it was July 23rd, 1993. And sadly, Michael Jordan had some transits that really did kind of correlate with this. He had the transit sun was right by his north node. And when you have when you're talking about the north node involved in a transit, it can be about issues one may have to confront or address. And the sun in astrology can be about your father. And the thing about it, and sadly, ironically enough, the sun was in Leo at the time, and Michael Jordan's dad was a sun in Leo. So, and also another thing, Michael Jordan, if I'm not mistaken, the transit north node in Sagittarius was very close to his natal moon at the time. And the thing about this is that could be about having to confront some issues that might be tied in to one's family, because the moon could be connected with one's family life. And sadly, I mean, you're talking about Sagittarius being very reckless, foolhardy, self-righteous energy, and whoever, I mean, shot Michael Jordan's dad obviously showed that kind of energy, I believe, at that time, sadly, in that shooting. But anyway, people, that's pretty much what I wanted to get at. I don't really much more anything to say in addition as far as Michael Jordan's natal chart goes. But anyway, people, this is Edwin Learnard, and until next time, stay well.